Jonathan Young.
Ena mana, ena reo, ena rangatira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I wish to welcome and acknowledge members of Te Atiawa here today. Liana, Hemi, good to see you, Whare, Peter, kia ora, welcome, and many others who are here today as well in support of this bill. I'd like to also acknowledge Mayor Neil Holdham, great to see you here. Also Deputy Mayor from South Taranaki, Phil Nixon, Craig Stevenson, Kelvin Day, Basil Chamberlain, Barbara McHero, and also I saw Howie Tamati in the crowd as well. Kia ora, Howie. I'd like to acknowledge the negotiators, Peter Moehu, and also Wikitoria Keenan, and acknowledge Wikitoria's passing, and no doubt a day today that she would have greatly desired to be here. Sir, I would like to read a passage from the Taranaki report, and then I want to look at, go back in history, and with the hope, sir, that we might understand some of the deep background of what has taken place here in New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand. In the Taranaki report, it says, "We have been struck by the coincidence between this current perception of partnership and good faith," speaking of Te Atiawa, "and the view of Maori leaders at the time. The predominant Maori view, as we see it, was that there was a place for Pākehā, provided Māori authority was also acknowledged. Nor was this expectation of respect couched in unreasonable or demanding terms. On the eve of the New Zealand wars of the 1860s, for example, as the government was preparing to attack him, the Te Atiawa leader, Wiremu Kingi, wrote simply to the governor, 'You should remember that the Māoris and the Pākehās are living quietly upon their pieces of land, and therefore do not you disturb them.' Later, when a military commander presented an ultimatum, a virtual declaration of war, alleging Kingi was in rebellion, Kingi replied, 'Friend, Colonel Murray, salutation to you in the love of our Lord Jesus Christ. You say that we have been guilty of rebellion against the Queen, but we consider we have not. This is my word to you. I have no desire for evil, but on the contrary, have great love for the Europeans and Māoris. Listen, my love is this. Put a stop to your proceedings, that your love of the Europeans and the Māoris may be true.' 20 years later, when the war had come and gone, the leadership, as represented by Te Whiti, still maintained the same position. There was a place for Pākehā and a place for Māori, but Māori authority had to be recognised, and dialogue between Māori and the government had to be maintained. Te Whiti and Kingi, in turn, were adherents of the Kingitanga, the movement under the Māori king, where the relationship between the separate authorities of the colonisers and the Māori was exemplified in the symbolic depiction of the Māori king on his piece, the Queen her piece, God over both, and love binding them to each other. Sir, another reason why I wish to speak of this is also because of my family ancestry. My tupuna, John Hobbs, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, came to New Zealand on the 3rd of August 1823 to the Bay of Islands as a young 23-year-old after working in Tasmania, ministering to the convict population there. He was an accomplished musician. He was an artisan, demonstrating great ability to improvise, and he offered his assistance to the Wesleyan mission in the Bay of Islands. He was a skillful linguist who learned to speak 9 languages, and he became an interpreter. Did I say that he was a very handsome young man as well? So I missed all those bits about him. Prior to the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi in February 1840, Hobbs had lengthy discussions with his friend, and whom he helped encourage into Christianity tamati wakanene. It was Nene's speech, according to the Encyclopedia of New Zealand, Te Ara, that turned the tide in favour of the treaty during the signing of Waitangi. At the Manunu signing, Hobbs interpreted for Lieutenant Governor William Hobson. In 1847, he noted that he had translated Hobson's assurances that the Crown wanted sovereignty, not land, and that land would never be forcibly taken. Sir, what we see is broken trust. What we see, sir, is not just the land, but the loss of a relationship that should have been based on trust, mutual acknowledgement and respect and understanding. When I plug my iPhone into my computer, the question comes up, is this a trusted device? Because unless I say yes, there is no communication between those two devices. And sir, what I hope for out of all of this, because we know that what was lost was hugely greater than what has been returned. But sir, what I hope that may be restored is trust. And I want to acknowledge my good friend, the Honourable Christopher Finlayson, who I believe has made that word honourable true in this Parliament, in this country. Because he has sought to build trust and to build communication. He has sought to bridge the huge divide that has existed. And we know that what is needed is just this foundation to go forward. I remember that once when a news article came out in our local paper, the Taranaki Daily News, about the progress of the treaty settlements, I put it up on Facebook, and somebody commented to me. They said, how much is this costing us? And I went back straight away, nothing compared to what it has cost our iwi. And the reply came back, fair enough. And I think if people understand the loss, they will also understand that what is being returned is essentially token in comparison, but it is something that will offer a foundation that what can and ought to be returned is mana, is spirit, is place, is leadership and well-being, with the great hope that for us in Taranaki that we can see a future together that will take us as a people in the spirit of what Wiremu Kingi had said and my ancestor John Hobbs had said. Kia ora, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.